Hi, so welcome to today's podcast. I'm delighted to welcome Dan Broomham, the Chief Revenue Officer at OneBeyond. Welcome, Dan. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolute pleasure. It's great to have you on the show, and thank you for taking the time to join us out of your busy day to share a little bit about your story and your organisation. So it would be great to kick us off if you would, just sharing with us what it is that you guys do at OneBeyond and what sort of services you offer and what your function is in the business.
Yeah, okay, yeah, brilliant, thanks. So I'll start with the function in the business. So I'm the Chief Revenue Officer, so that's basically everything. I'm responsible for everything that is sales and marketing. As a company, we're a software development company. So helping our clients with growth through software development, whether that's building them bespoke applications that's designed for their business or integrating things that are more off the shelf, whether that be Microsoft, Salesforce, and some of these bigger applications that are out there. We deliver that across centers of excellence based out of the UK and Europe, and we do everything from sort of idea generation and innovation all the way through to support and maintenance of these applications.
Okay, so as a Chief Revenue Officer, what's your sort of job function? What's your day-to-day look like in the business?
Yeah, so my day-to-day really is managing all of sales, responsible for everything that is coming in, and managing our customers, whether that is new business and finding new business and working with new business, or looking after our current customers, making sure they're happy, making sure they're getting what they wanted from us, and also looking to bring them further innovation. And then the marketing is all of sort of the external, the branding, everything that's about our company, and making sure that everybody can see what we do out there on the social media channels and by the internet, whatever it needs to be.
Okay. And how long have you been going for?
The company's been going now 20 years.
Yeah.
I've been in this company now, this is coming up to my second month.
Wow. Okay. What were you doing before?
So before, I've been very much in the world of AI and automation, various senior business roles in that sort of world, everything brand new. I've sort of been in that world really since COVID, since 2020. Various roles that are very, very sales focused, as well as I originally, just after COVID, I started up my own business and sold that to another company. That business was built around consulting and helping people navigate digital technology and all of the new technology. Prior to that, very corporate background, senior management, senior leadership, whether that's been sales and sort of delivery and the experience of sort of implementing these things for our clients. So the first part of my life was very much corporate. The second part of my life has very much been startup and smaller SME world.
Okay, I bet that was quite exciting going through the startup and then exiting.
It was very, very exciting doing it in COVID as well.
I can imagine.
I'll be honest. I don't think I would have if I knew COVID was coming back at the beginning of 2020. It was. I remember in the January, it was just like a glimmer on the horizon. There was this thing going off in China. By the time it got to March, and we were in the middle. Me and my business partner at the time, we were in the middle of this is happening. It was just really unknown, everybody know it. But starting up a business in that really did focus the mind, as well as bring a lot of stress at the time. But yeah, it was good doing that, and then getting towards the end of the year and having conversations around selling that, and the conversations of where other businesses wanted to go, and basically adopt what we had as a key block, key building blocks to their future growth.
Yeah. So you've got some, a wealth of corporate experience, background. You've been through startup and building a business in a really, it feels a bit weird. It feels a bit surreal now, COVID, doesn't it? But,
it does, yeah. I think it was a dream. I think it was a dream. Yeah.
And now you're with OneBeyond. So thinking about that sort of journey as as a professional in an SME type size business, what have been the biggest challenges that you faced?
Yeah, I think so. The biggest challenge is always people. I think probably, even though I'm in a technology business, it's always been around people, whether that's externally or internally. And in fact, probably always through my career. And I think a lot of this comes with age and that understanding of what does that mean. But when I say people, it's really as I've got older, it's really making sure that I understand what other people are going through, whether that's been my customers, I'm putting myself in their shoes, or also the people that work for me or the people that I work with, just understanding where they're coming from, both on a professional, but possibly even more importantly on a personal level. And that people aspect is often easily said, but I think my experience is it takes a lot of time and a lot of experience and a lot of listening to really genuinely understand what is going on. And I think my learning is really, I know in early days, I'd overlook that and not think about it or make assumptions about people incorrectly, and that's that's caused problems, I would say.
Yeah, I can't remember who said it now. It reminds me of a phrase that, seek to understand before you're understood.
Yeah, that's I've not heard that one, but I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you give us a bit of an example about what you sort of mean in terms of, getting to know people on a more of a personal level and what impact that has?
Yeah, I think so. It's very easy, obviously, to think about a scenario through our own experiences and our own the things that have happened to us, and we can put prejudices on that because of our own, what we have gone through. I think when the really important thing for me, and I've always found, is to really understand what is the motivators of the people that you're talking to. There's always those business drivers. There's always those things that need to happen, and the things that the business is setting on them. But what's driving that individual personally on an individual level? Understanding that and getting to understand that is really how you can help the person out individually to be their best and to get the best out of what you're selling. And I think especially as I worked sort of my way up into senior management and just management roles, it was sort of that flipping from being a manager and telling people what to do and also being a single point of failure, because I think in my early days I probably felt that people couldn't do things better than I could.
Okay.
Which is a bad place to be. That in hindsight, that's a really bad place to be. But then moving more to a leadership stance of actually, there's brilliant and very clever people out there, and is how can I help and they will get the best out of them. That would be my sort of direct experience of how can I help people be better at what they do.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's always that element that everybody's got a personal motivator, whether you're the chief exec, whether you're one of the sales team or whatever. There's always a personal motivator in terms of what you want to work towards, and it's kind of that intrinsic motivation, understanding what that internal motivation is, understanding what the priorities are for that individual and how they then can fit those goals into the organization's goals. And as a leader, the business has got a goal, hasn't it? It's got an operational goal, but like you say, the people have got personal goals, and it's trying to find a common ground that actually works it's a win-win, works for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think not ignoring that and overseeing that with people, that's where you start to see unhappiness. And if you're not happy in what you're doing, and I reflect that on myself as well. I've been in circumstances and there's a reality that I think as I get older, I get a lot more confident. If I'm not happy, and if somebody else isn't happy, why are you doing it? Why? That's. I think that's the thing for me. Is like, how do you unlock being able to be happier in what you do?
Yeah, like you say, easier said than done sometimes, isn't it?
Very, very much so. Yeah, very much so.
But you're right, though. I think the team, a team can always take the business further than you can ever take it on your own. So understanding that there are things to leverage for having great people around you and motivating them to do a great job is really powerful.
Yes.
What sort of things do you look for in people to make sure that you've got the right people around you and you're all sort of aligned in those goals?
I think enthusiasm, first thing. It's really, really important that people are really enthusiastic about what they're doing. And you know, and that's not whether that's just the people that I interview and go and hire. It's not just the people, my colleagues around me, but it's also customers as well. Isn't it great when you're talking to a customer that's really enthusiastic about what they want to do or what they're trying to achieve? And I think in that enthusiasm, there's an awful lot that can be done there. And so I think starting with that core of enthusiasm is something I always look for in people. Where's that spark? You know, can I really believe, you know, that they can take this to another level, take me to another level, do whatever we're doing to another level? And I think it starts at that very first conversation. You know, I was thinking, my daughter has just gone to university, and I remember when I took her to the open day. University, that open day is great at just enthusiasm. The world is, everything is possible at university on that open day. The world is your oyster, you know, and everything is achievable. I love that mentality. I love that, you know, holding that. If you could bottle that, that's really key. I think openness and building trust is key. That comes with that enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is one thing, but and this is easily something said, but I think something that that I have really learned is, so how do you do what you say you're going to do? Commit to it and do it. It's very easy to get carried away with things, but then think about, so what is it that's going to come out of this? What are we going to do? How are we going to move things forward? And make sure you do it. And then I guess the third thing is, and it's an overriding thing, business is serious, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be fun.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to have fun as you go along things, and have a laugh with what you're doing, because we all work better. I definitely work better when I'm in a happy mood than if I'm feeling the pressure, and if I'm feeling, you know, sad or grumpy, or, you know, I'm talking on the other side, you know, misery finds a friend. But fun does as well. Fun finds a friend as well if you're having that.
It's amazing how much the influence of one bad mood in a room can influence everybody else, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's a bit like you're talking about your daughter's, you know, open day. It's that sort of environment around you. If that environment sort of ekes of, you know, optimism, enthusiasm, and motivation, then, you know, you do feel completely different. You do have a completely different outlook on everything. It's really, really powerful.
Yeah.
So you've identified good people. You've got that sort of enthusiasm. You can see that spark in their eyes. You can sort of build trust with them and that openness. You can see that you can have some fun along the way. Like you say, business is, you know, it's serious, but you can have some fun. But obviously, keeping that alive and keeping it going within a team, what sort of things do you do to foster that environment within the team long term?
Yeah, so I think an important aspect of, and it sounds a bit of an oxymoron when I say team, but it's making sure you're having one-to-one and individual time with people as well. I think there are many things that we can do around team building, and there will be many people out there with really, every time I talk to people about it, there's some great ideas about team building, and it's really important to communicate as a friend, as a team, and share things as a team. But it's equally, if not more important, to make sure you're having one-to-ones with people and taking that time out to listen to what's going on. And that's both ways, by the way. So as much as it's my job to listen to people and to understand what's going on and talk to them one-to-one, I need that support one-to-one as well. And it does, as I've either worked up my way in sort of management within corporate, or especially in the SME world, it's very lonely. It's a very lonely world, and finding people that you really can trust and really can talk to about what's going on, with no judgment as well, with no judgment. We all make mistakes. That is incredibly important. Easily said, again, actually really hard to find. And what I find is a lot of people, whether it was corporate world or in the startup, same thing, there's a lot of expectation that is set on, and that expectation comes with a constant feeling of performance, and I need to be saying the right thing and doing the right thing and convincing everybody that I know what I'm doing. The reality is always far from that. It's actually, the mistakes are made, things happen, and it's good to just talk them through. It's good to make mistakes, share them, and move on. And I think that's a really important thing for me, is like having that safe zone to be able to just discuss and talk about what's going on, then without judgment.
Do you find that some people find it difficult to be vulnerable? Because ultimately that's a bit of vulnerability, isn't it? It's opening themselves up to admitting that, you know, things aren't perfect all the time.
Yeah, very much so. You know, you see it in work a lot. Like I say, there is that desire to constantly prove that I'm in control, I know what I'm doing, and you see it in that terminology. I'm using a lot of I there, right? And it's that mentality that's going on, as opposed to when you get a bit more comfortable, the we comes in a lot more, and talking about the we. But I think you see it at home, and I think we see it in private life. You know, there's quite a lot of performance that goes around people that I know and people that I see that's very much around things that they have and things that they've got, and one-upmanship, and look at, you know, almost putting a veneer on something that you all know, that underneath the scene, you'd say we're all the same. We've all got problems. We've all got things that are going off, and it's okay to talk about them.
Yeah. Yeah, in a safe environment where you're not
in a safe environment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in terms of one-to-ones then, how regular are you you know, normally?
Weekly.
Okay.
Weekly.
Very good.
Weekly. It's a big and I think it's a big ask. It's hard. It's not
It is
not
a big
always
ask. Yeah.
it is a big ask, but it's incredibly important.
Yeah. It's often overlooked as well. I think you said it earlier in terms of business, in terms of the sort of focused operational things. It's quite often easy to forget those one-to-ones and that personal level, because we're all busy people. There's lots to do. There's always something else to do, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's also one of those things as well that, you know, you only have to miss a few, and then you can get into the rut and the habit of not doing them, and it becomes a habit not to do things, just as it does to do things. I find as well the thing with one-to-ones as well, and from a leadership point of view, and a really good tip, and somebody advised me, is the one-to-ones are not there for me to talk to the person I'm talking to. They're there for them to talk to me. So it's okay to let them and tell them that they need to come prepared for a one-to-one, to have a talk through what it is they want to talk about. And as well as encouraging them that it's not just about business. You can share everything in that environment as you build up the trust and that safe house. But I think it's a good leadership trick that somebody told me. It's like, you don't, becomes more of an overhead when you think you have to set the agenda. Let the person you're talking to set the agenda, and sit back and advise. And that was a really helpful trick, really, or tool, I should say.
A good share, really good share. You mentioned, you know, business being a bit lonely, and even you need that sort of one-to-one time and things. So where do you go as a senior leader, as a business owner, as a shareholder, as a director? Where do you go for that support?
I probably have a core of 6 people in my network that I know I can phone and just have that conversation. I have one that I work with today that I have that and know very well, and then others really that I've just built up through my network. I know that I can always just share that thinking and those thoughts. That's where I go when I really need to.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think as well, and I say I like to think because it's not, I don't always get it right. We're always learning, but I like to think, because of the way I've changed my approach and over the years, and just become more open and honest about what's going on. I think to a lesser degree, I'm constantly having those more open conversations, and it's great when you find people. It doesn't matter where they are, that you share similar interests with. You know, I talking to a customer the other day, and yes, we were talking about what they wanted, got onto that, but you can see I've got a guitar in the background. They play guitar. We ended up talking a lot about guitars. We started sharing some of the challenges that we have. We played, and it just becomes that environment where it becomes a little bit more natural, and that helped me as much as, you know, it helped me as much as it helped them, sort of thing, in terms of just sharing that type of conversation.
I think, it can be a bit of a lonely world, and, you know, with data and Zoom calls now, it's easy to not have that human one-to-one interaction and things. But we are pack animals, aren't we? We are social through and through. Really good. In
Yeah.
terms of time, then let's talk about time, because clearly, you've got a lot on your plate and things like that. How do you manage your time?
Yeah, I think there's two things. I think it's the important thing is, as a lot of people say, family is important to me. Yeah, so I need to really prioritize my family and my private time. I've found maybe as I've got older, as I've get more experienced, it's important to make sure that my downtime is something and filled with something. It's not just a day of doing nothing, because I find a day of doing nothing is almost as frustration as a day of doing everything.
Okay.
Just for me,
Yeah.
I actually realize having something to do that's meaningful, that I know I'm working for, even on a weekly, or even possibly a daily, but definitely on a monthly, yearly basis, is really, really important. And that helps shape a lot of the things. Something somebody told me probably about, it must have been 12 or 13 years ago as well, just in work, but you can actually apply this in your private life as well. But it's the five D's, and the 5 D's to time. So it's do it, delay it, delegate it, diminish it, delete it.
Yes.
Right. It's a really interesting thing to do, and something that I always just use as a little tool, so that it sort of speaks for itself. But the do it one is really interesting. Sometimes we can procrastinate on stuff when it's just like just do it, just get it done. Once it's done, it's done. If you have to get up a little bit early, for me, I like to get up early and just get those things done. Delay it. Do you really need to do it today? Plan it in for a different time to do. Is it on the speaks for itself. Delegate it, especially from a leader. As I've got older, delegate it, probably the biggest one of them all. Should you really be doing it as a leader?
That's sometimes quite a challenge as a leader, isn't it?
Big time. Yeah. And especially where in the past I might have had the arrogance that I think I'm the best one and I'm the only one that can do it. That's not very good leadership skills. You're really questioning if it's a presentation that needs to be done, if it's a meeting that needs to be had. Is it really me that needs to be doing?
It's a limiting belief, isn't it? Because you're going to limit your own growth. You're going to limit the growth of the organisation and the people around you.
Yeah, completely. And then finishing out off, diminish it. It can be really tempting as well, and some people do this more than others. But to really go overkill with everything that you need to do. I mean, how many emails do we get that's War and Peace, or you have to scroll down a page to read it? Most people don't. I don't. I look at the first two sentences and then I shut off.
Yeah.
So if somebody's asked a question, especially if it's a closed question, a yes or a no, just answer the question, get it done, job done. And then delete it. I think there's still a lot of big case of say delete it. We get a lot of junk. And even sometimes, I know it's risky, but even sometimes if you delete it, if it's really urgent, somebody will come back to you.
Yeah, there's a couple of phrases. So one of them is the don't major on the minor. So it's kind of that sort of framework around, like you say, don't diminish it. Don't spend too much time majoring over minor things. Focus on the Pareto's or the 20% that's going to give you 80% of your growth or whatever it is you're working on.
Yeah.
And then the other one is like your email inbox or whatever. If I deleted it, what would happen? If the answer's nothing, then delete it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
easier said than again. It's one of those, isn't it?
It is, especially when sometimes something looks, and it's just because it's easy to do, you'd end up doing it, but then you realise
you're in that rabbit hole, aren't you? You're in that hole. Very good.
Yeah.
So in terms of OneBeyond, then what the future holds, what's the sort of future plans for the organisation? Where do you want to take it over the next few years?
Yeah, so I think it's very much an organisation for me that's more about helping people strategically, becoming more of a strategic partner than it's been very much a supplier of really clever expertise into people, and more in terms of providing that development and application expertise. It's more now around how can we help people solve problems and bring innovation into what they're doing, and in particular AI. I mean, everybody hears about AI. It's AI, but living and breathing AI. I do believe, and I really believe, because I've been in this now for a good 5 years, really full on AI. I think with a lot of companies in 5, maybe 10 years at a push, it's either embrace AI or it won't be around anymore. It'll be dead as a business. And I do actually really believe that. And I think it affects so many so many industries. It's affecting every single industry, and even the most well-established companies now need to look at and embrace AI. And we're no different. We'll be no different to that. We need to embrace AI with how we do things, whether that's within ourselves and within software development and using AI to speed things up, improve quality. We're already doing a lot of that. But of course, more importantly, how do we help clients embrace AI and use AI within what they're doing? So the future for me is very much about AI and how we evolve, but also help our customers and clients evolve.
Your advice around the sort of the 5Ds, was it?
5Ds, yeah.
So the first one is do it, isn't it? It's kind of that AI thing. If you're on the ledge, if you're procrastinating, if you're not sure, it's just get involved, do it, try it, test it, play with it. Because like I say, it's not going anywhere. I think Piers Linney from Dragon's Den talks about it, or he describes it in a way that you're stood on the docks with a boat and the boat is sailing. The boat's moving away. At the moment, a boat starts off very slowly, but it is moving away from the dock. If you're not on the boat, it's going to go, and it's going to get quicker and quicker, and you're not going to be able to catch up as easily if you don't just start using it.
Yeah, that's spot on. I mean, if you look at the Gartner, if you're aware of Gartner hype curves, they're basically hype around new technology follows the same curve.
Yeah.
And at the moment, we're right at the peak of the hype curve. That means there's a lot of startups, there's a lot of companies that are doing things with AI, and a lot of those won't exist in 5 years. But in 5 years' time, we'll be coming out the other side where this is becoming a known technology and embedded technology in what we do. And you're absolutely right. We're just sort of coming over this peak now. So that boat is leaving right now, and you just don't want to be left behind.
Yeah, no, very true. Very true. So in terms of advice to fellow business professionals, owners and things like that, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
Well, one is I'm allowed to say three?
Yeah, you can have three. Go for it.
All right. So I think, I've mentioned before, I think it's listen and trust people around you. Listen and trust is key. You can't do it on your own. Find the time and listen to people. Quick decision making.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned it. Don't procrastinate. Make a quick decision. It's okay if it's wrong. Just learn from it and move on. But the worst thing is to not make a decision.
Yes.
From a business point of view, and just thinking that the happy times will come back, or we've got to move on, and we've got to make those decisions really quickly.
Yeah, good times will pass, bad times will pass. They pass, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think I like Stephen Bartlett's decision-making process. It's one of those questions you ask yourself: if I can undo the decision later, if it's the wrong decision, then just make the decision and do it.
Yeah.
If it's a reversible one, sort of almost take the decision process out of your mind. Obviously, if it's not a reversible one, it needs a little bit more thought and a little more processing to make sure. But very often we deliberate and we spend too much time thinking about something that actually, if we just act on it, we could undo it if it's the wrong one later on anyway.
Yeah, you're right. I think there is an element. I think I agree with that. I think there is an element you can see where ill-informed decisions have been made.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think what is the type of decision you're making, and the impact then that's going to have. I think that's where good leaders sort of get it right. Yeah, and it's okay to get some things wrong, but learn from them and move on, type of thing.
Yeah, very good.
And then I think the third and final, I've said it already, but have fun and create a happy environment. It's always said, possibly for some people said too often, but I think it's incredibly important, and the most important thing in growing a sustainable and successful company.
Yeah, very good. Great bits of advice. You clearly live up to your own sort of values in terms of the people you look for, in enthusiasm, openness, and having some fun. What keeps you motivated and driven in your entrepreneurial journey? And
I genuinely, so look, I am financially driven. I do like to think about the prospect of what money can do for me in the future, but I like to think that's going to come at the consequence of doing everything else right. So what I mean by everything else right, there's no warmer feeling than for me when somebody that I've worked with in the past has come back and thanked me for conversations that we've had over the time that we've had together. They thank me for my approach, or it's something about that direct feedback from people that's helped them move on and sort of get out of their own way just from having an interaction with me. That makes me really, really happy. That's the sort of thing that actually at night I can go to bed feeling all warm and cozy, thinking I've actually done the right thing here. It's a bit like I do a lot of football coaching as well at weekends and stuff like that. The same, I get this same sort of feeling and buzz that you get from that when somebody's come back and said, when one of the kids that I'm coaching comes back as a thanks coach for that or something like that. It's a great feeling. And actually, if I could bottle that and put some money attached to that, I'd be really happy.
Yeah, I bet you would. No, it's great. Yeah, seeing other people develop and seeing other people progress and grow is like you say, it's a fantastic feeling. There's nothing quite like it. Very good.
Yeah.
Listen, it's been really good. I could talk to you for hours. It's been really great to hear a bit about sort of your journey and so where you come from and things like that. Where can our listeners go to find out a little bit more about OneBeyond and your services that you're offering and where you're going?
Yeah, so please look at us at one-beyond.com and our website. Please look at us on LinkedIn as well. Please don't get us confused with the discount retailer, because that's very different. We're at the software development end, and there's some really great use cases and case studies on there of where we've done this for people, and hopefully that will spark some inspiration and thoughts. And then for me, please look at me on LinkedIn. I like using LinkedIn. It's up to date. Got a strong network there, so I would welcome anybody to reach out to me.
Very good. Thank you ever so much. Again, thanks for your time. Been great talking to you.
No problem. Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.